Hello everybody. This is going to be a quick video on how to date most case knives. Now this is the rule that I am going to show you. There are many exceptions, but this is the general rule. From the early days of case, they used different tang stamps on their knives, and you could roughly date a knife by the tang stamp, but a lot of times it was a matter of 10, 15, a 20-year gap sometimes. This is an example of one of Case's older stamps. This is what some people call the straight Case XX stamp. Nothing on the main blade but Case XX. And this was used from 1940 till about 1964. And so you can know your knife was made within those times, but you don't know much else about it. Beginning in the 70s, Case started using what is known as the dot system, which allowed you not only to know the decade of your knife, but the exact year of the knife. There have been some exceptions and some variations to the dot system, one of which being in the early 90s, from 1990 to 1993, they stopped using the dot system for a few years in favor of this stamp, where it actually had the year 19 USA 93. But except for a few years of exception, you're going to be able to date most Case knives either by the font of the tang stamp, and that will be from the early days of Case up till the year 1970. And for most of the time from 1970 up till 2025, when I'm recording this, you're able to look at the dot system and tell the exact year of a knife. I've done some redneck drawings of some different tang stamp designs. Okay, up here at the top of this paper, this is roughly what your stamp is going to look like from 2000 to 2009. And you can see this stamp is from 2010 to 2019. You can see the C has changed its shape. The C has a curve in it. And my drawing is exaggerated, but there is a curve in the C, and the C itself is thicker, where it's a little thin C from 2000 to 2009. And then from 2020 to 2029, the C does not go under the A, the Z, the S, or the E. It's just the words in print. So you can see each one of these looks a little bit different. And that's how you will determine your decade. Again, I'm only going for the last 25 years, but the rule stays the same. The other thing is the dot system. Sometimes they use dots, sometimes they use X's. You can see here on this first one, the top row begins with a dot and the bottom row begins with an X. That was from 2000 to 2009. In 2010, they flipped it. The bottom row began with a dot and the top row began with an X. And then from 2020 to 2029, we have no X's, only dots. This is my favorite looking tang stamp out of this group. I think it just looks good. It looks somewhat like Case's older tang stamps. So the simple rule to remember is that since the year 2000, the stamp changes every decade. So every 10 years, you're going to get a new stamp. 2000 to 2009, 2010 to 2019, 2020 to 2029. And the next thing to remember is a dot or an X is removed each year of that decade. So you'll start off with the 2000 model. We'll have 10 dots. And every year that ticks off, they will remove one dot or one X. And so you count the number of dots. For instance, if there was only 9 dots, it would be a 2001. In 2002, they'll remove another dot, so there'll be 8 dots. In 2003, they'll remove another dot, so there'll be 7. In 2004, they'll remove another dot, so there'll be 6. And that is going to be the same with all of these. Another thing we will say is, as a general rule, I'm sure there are exceptions, but in the last 25 years, as a general rule to go by, if you have a lightning S like this, looks almost like a Z, that stands for the knife being a stainless knife. See how I've got the lightning S there? It almost looks like a lightning bolt. I've got it on all these tang stamps. That stands for the knife being stainless usually. And if it's a regular soft cornered C like this, usually that stands for the knife being carbon steel. And then one thing we do need to say is there are some exceptions. Single-bladed knives can vary, like the Case Copperlock. its tang stamp can vary a little bit. For instance, you'll get a USA inserted under case here because they don't have any other blade to stamp it on. But this is a general rule. You can go on the internet and look up case date stamps, and you'll be able to look and see which stamp matches your knife. Now, with all this being said, let me pull out some knives to show you. We'll start with the 2000 to 2009. This right here is a peanut. And you can see it's got that straight, flat C. So that is this one right here. The next thing we need to determine then is how many dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means that 4 dots have been removed. That makes this a 2004 peanut. And we won't be able to see it on camera, but it does have the lightning Z in there. CA lightning Z. And then an E. You know, the S looks like a Z. And so that means this will be stainless. But if you look on the other blade, it clearly says stainless steel. So this knife, with the flat C like that, and 6 dots, makes it a 2004. Let's take another example. This is a Case Texas Jack. This is a carbon steel knife. If you notice here again, you're going to have a straight S. Well, it's not the lightning S, it's the soft S, I guess you'd say. So it's a carbon steel knife. Notice the C is straight across. There is no curve in the C. So that's telling us it's 2000 to 2009. And then if you look, you've got 9 dots, which means that they've removed one, so that makes this a 2001. The next stamp that Case came up with, we'll use this 18 to illustrate it. Notice how much wider the C is. See how the C has this curve to it like that? This is the 2010 to 2019 stamp right there. And so you know that this was made sometime between 2010 and 2019. And to show the contrast one more time, the knife on the right is a 2000 to 2009. The one on the left is a 2010 to 2019. I'm hoping I'm not getting any of these numbers garbled up here. Nevertheless, you can see how the stamp has changed. The way the C looks is the biggest difference. The shape of the C has changed. So that's how you date the decade. After you've dated your decade, then you start removing dots. So you would say, how many dots does this knife have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That makes this a 2014 model. And again, this one is going to have the lightning S there. It looks like a Z. That means this is stainless, which you can easily find on the spay blade, stainless steel. We'll throw you in another example of a carbon steel knife. This is a carbon steel 032 pattern. Notice the C. It's got that long curvy C. So that is the C. Again, it's the C from 2010 to 2019. And you'll notice there it has that soft C, which is the soft S, which is going to tell us that it's a carbon knife. It's got this long curvy C, which is going to tell us it's a 2010 to 2019. So then you got to start removing dots. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. That makes this a 2016. Then the ones that I'm the most familiar with is the change after 2020. This is a Sodbuster here. Notice how different that stamp looks. You no longer have the C running under the rest of the word case. See how much that changed? So you'll look at that. Notice you do have the lightning S, so that means this is a stainless knife. So now we have determined, by looking at this tang stamp, that this knife was made between 2020 and 2029. So now we need to start removing dots. There's 6 dots, that means 4 is removed. That makes this a 2024. One more example of a carbon knife. This is a carbon steel Sodbuster. Notice the S. You got a soft S instead of the lightning S on this other case. So that means this is a carbon knife. Again, you got 6 dots, which means that this is also a 2024. And so that's the simple way that you date a case knife. Go look up the chart of the different tang stamps, and then you can go from there in your dating them. I hope this was helpful to y'all out there. I'm no expert in the matter, but that's a simple way of doing it. I know a lot less about dating once it gets past 1970. But y'all out there, you have a good day, and make sure that you keep your knives good and keep them all sharp.